John Bolton, the former United States ambassador to the United Nations, is a strong defender of the U.S. on human rights.
We are the most vigorous defender of human rights and individual liberty in the world today or in all of world history.
No country in the entire world is perfect on human rights.
Professor Hadar Harris is executive director of the Center for Human Rights and Humanitarian Law at American University. She criticizes the U.S., saying, for one, that detainees still remain at Guantanamo Bay even after President Barack Obama said he would close the detention center.
We have people who have been kept in Guantanamo without charge, incommunicado, without appropriate monitoring for many years. I think it's incumbent upon us as human rights activists in the United States, as well as the international community, to hold this administration's feet very much to the fire on the closure of Guantanamo and of establishing appropriate due process protections and norms to try people who should be tried and to release people who can't be.
But John Bolton says the U.S. can hold detainees because they are terrorists and prisoners of war.
Even though the Geneva Conventions only apply among the states parties, they don't apply to terrorist groups, even the Geneva Convention says you can hold a prisoner of war for the duration of the conflict. This global war on terrorism could take a long time. If the terrorists have chosen the wrong side and find themselves at Guantanamo Bay for a long time, that's their problem, not ours.
Hadar Harris also takes issue with the death penalty in the U.S.
It is an issue of great concern in terms of its application in this country and its continued use. But it would be good to have full abolition of the death penalty.
According to the Death Penalty Information Center, more than 40 people convicted of murder have been executed in the U.S. this year. But Michael Peranzino of the pro-death penalty group Throw Away the Key says giving convicted killers the death penalty provides families of murder victims some closure.
That's where I think this debate has to be focused. The lasting harm to entire families when people are murdered.
Human rights activists also criticize the U.S. for not ratifying key UN treaties. While the majority of UN members have ratified the Convention to Eliminate Discrimination Against Women, so far the U.S. Senate has not.
The Convention on the Rights of the Child. We and Somalia are the only two countries in the world that have not ratified that treaty.
John Bolton says the U.S. already has laws that protect the rights of women and children.
We can decide on the basis of our representative government what's appropriate. We don't need an international treaty to tell us how to behave.
Bolton says those who are critical of the U.S. should focus on the human rights records of countries that are not democracies, such as Iran and China. Elizabeth Lee, VOA News.